Today I'm going to be showing you how to track in that Blender Gorilla sign. That is, take footage that looks like this and track it and then drop a graphic on it so that it looks like this. That's the concept. Let's get going. You can see we're using Blender 2.79. I'm assuming you know how to work it somewhat, so I'm not going to explain every single step. Since we're tracking video footage, I'm going to switch this to the movie clip editor. Then open, and I'm going to navigate to where my movie clip is, which is in this video folder. And the one I want is the one with a sign in it, this one. Okay, now that's my footage. Now that I have it in here, there's a button in the upper left. Look up here, see Set Scene Frames. What that does, you click that, and that matches your timeline to the length of your clip. So now this is 262 frames, which is what my clip is. Then I hit Prefetch. Now when I hit Prefetch, see this purple bar down here? Watch that purple bar when I click this. See how it's filling up with light purple? It just brought all the frames into RAM. When it's figuring things out, going from frame to frame and tracking and stuff, it doesn't have to reach to the hard drive all the time for everything it's doing, so it runs a lot faster. Now, what I want to do is I want to track this sign. And I'm going to do it by throwing some trackers on it. And there's two ways you can do that. I can hit Add and then click someplace and it puts a tracker down. Or, as long as I'm in movie clip editor, just hold down Control, and any place I click, it'll put a tracker. Now you may notice I just put down 6. Why did I put down 6 when you only need 4? Because this is not a corner track. There was an old technique where you track the corners and then you just deform a plane to fit into those corners. This is actually a different algorithm going on inside the software that takes that figures out the orientation and perspective of a plane. So the plane is actually that it's figuring out is a plane that this sign is a part of. You'll see what I'm saying. Now, first thing I'm going to do is make this bigger. Select them all. I hit A twice to do that. Then hit Scale, and I'm going to make these smaller because they always come up too big. There. Now that I have them smaller, I'm going to pick this one, hit G. Actually, I don't have to hit G. I'll go over to this window. Let's go over to this window, and I'm positioning it. Oh, when I say this window, upper right, see where my mouse is? This is showing me everything the tracker sees. That little tiny window that is the tracker is enlarged up on this thing. So this is what the tracker is seeing. So I'm putting it right there so it's just inside that corner. Then I'm going to put this one up here so it's just inside that corner. In fact, with this little bit of red sticking in. And then this one goes down into this corner. And this one. Now I'm using the corners because they're the farthest out place I can go and still be in this plane. I don't need to use the corners, remember that. So if I have a plane, that doesn't have corners or something or whatever, as long as I get 4 or more points on that plane, it'll work just fine. Now I'm going to, I like that spot right there. And this one will go, looking for some place that won't confuse it. All right, that's too near the, although there isn't that much motion in this footage. That's good. Now, those are all in place. Next step is make sure I'm on frame 1. Hit A twice to select all of them simultaneously. And then click this Track Forward button. This one I'm pointing to right here on the left-hand side about in the middle. There. Track selected markers. See, it says that. Looks like a play button. I click that. It's going to track all the way through the footage like it just did. Then you want to check to make sure it tracked well. Now I know it did, but there's a couple ways you can tell. One is look at these tails. Okay, look at all as I move through here. See, actually, let me make these longer in length. I can just crank them up to 50. I can make them longer than that if I want. But see how they're all moving the same? They all like have more or less the same shape. And they all are nice and smooth, and there's no weird jagged parts on any of them. Okay, that tells you those are all good tracks. Another thing you can do, let me get this back down to 20. Another thing you can do is choose, oh wait, before I do that, since I know they're good, let me lock them. I just did that by hitting Control L while they were all selected. Now that means I won't accidentally move them or resize them or something. Since they're tracked already, I don't want to mess them up. Select one, okay, like this. And then as I scrub through the footage, look at that magnifying window in the upper right hand corner. See? You can see that is locked in. And that's not jiggling at all. I'm going to do this one in the middle here. You see? They're good. They're all good. I know they are because I've done this many times. But that's how you check them. That being done, next step is I'm going to put in my plane track. So I have to make sure they're all selected. I hit A twice. Then come up here to the Solve tab. Left-hand side, Solve tab, up the top, plane track, hit Create Plane Track. Bam. And it puts this thing in. And you'll notice this thing does not conform to the shape of my sign. Right. Because it's just the way it does it. So I can make this any shape I want it to be. I want it to be the shape of the sign that I want here rather than the one that is here. So I'm going to line this up on the outer corner of this thing. And I'm going to bring this up, just making sure that that edge goes along that edge. Bring this up, do the same thing. What I'm doing is I'm imagining perspective here and just visualizing it by eyeball. I'm just imagining a bigger sign, what I'm doing. And then drawing it in, basically. Now, if you want to be Super Joe accurate, there are obviously ways of getting this to be correct. But that is close enough for my purposes. Okay, now I've got that. Now if I play that, Alt A, you'll see that that's moving along just fine. Yeah, that's good. Looks the right shape. It's not horribly deforming. I'm looking at the space between the top of the sign and the top of the shape I made, and it looks right. And so now that makes the track and makes the shape. Now we've got to go over to the compositor to finish this off. The compositor, you pull from this drop-down menu up here. The compositor is not just a window type. A compositor is a whole layout thing. Although it's still just a bunch of windows. You could change any of them. Use nodes, backdrop. Then this one here, you want to make sure it's selected. I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to bring in a movie clip node on which I will pick the clip that I just got done tracking. And then composite node I'll put over here out of the way. I don't need to see it though. And then hitting Control Shift on this makes a viewer node, which I'm going to put over here. And again, I don't need to see that. And then one thing I do want to do is, since both of these have to be connected and I don't want to remember to reconnect both of them all the time, I'm going to add a reroute node. Where is it? There it is. Right here. And then connect this to the reroute node. Connect the reroute node to each of these. Now I only have to worry about connecting to one thing. Now, we got this. And we want that plane track that we just made to be here. We also want to see this footage. So V, controls the size of the background. Alt V makes it bigger. V makes it smaller. Now we want to see that track. First, I have to throw in a mix node, which is color mix. Put that there. Yeah, it's all white. I have to bring in my plane track. My plane track is in distort because it's used to distort an image. That's how you know where it is. Plane track deform. See it? Now if I put this, I don't want to put that there. If I put this here and feed it into this, the whole thing goes black. And the reason it does that is because the alpha channel is not set. So I click on the alpha, and then this magically appears. Well, it would appear, but okay, the reason you're not seeing anything is because this plane track deform node has no idea what I want it to do. So I have to pick the movie clip that I tracked. Now it's getting a clue. Then I have to pick the camera because you can have more than one. And you can give them different names. And I have to pick the plane track that I made. Again, if I had more than one, these would have different names. And there it is. As you can see, sitting right up there, looking all pretty, right on top of this thing. Now, if I move this around, I'm grabbing the timeline down here, watch the background up there. See? Go here, go here. See? That's tracked in. It's right in there. It's very good. We already saw that on the other thing, but here you see it in the actual footage. But we don't want it to be a black thing. We want it to be... Now, I could change it to a colored thing by just doing this. Obviously, if I want an orange thing up there, there we go. There's an orange thing. Okay? This is how you do it if you want to put... Well, it doesn't matter. So, I want that to be an image. So what we do is add an image node. Input, image. Now I need one. I don't have one already loaded up, so I have to grab one and go to blah, 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 navigating, desktop, go to Gorilla stuff, take my Blender Gorilla splash screen, and stick that in there. And there it is. Now, if I would render this movie, that would look good. But here's what I don't like about it. Let me get this bigger. I think that's full size. It looks good. Now, if you look, you'll see the edges of this sign, the real edges in the actual video, are not super sharp. They're sharp, not super sharp. Not as sharp as this. This is very sharp. Plus, these colors are completely wrong because it's a graphic. Okay? It has none of the scene stuff at all. So there's a few things you want to do to really sell it. One is blur it a little bit, and the other is desaturate it or just, you know, make the colors so that they fall in the range that the video already has. Okay? The easiest way to do that is just grab a RGB curve, drop it in here, and then I want to drop the contrast basically. So I'm going to bring up the blacks a little bit, bring down the lights. Let's see how much I can bring those down. Yeah. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I want to put that almost to black, not quite. That's nice. Then bring this up till it looks like it could actually be in this scene. Not too bright. Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. I don't like the graphic itself, but that's not what we're doing here. Okay, so let's say that's good enough, and then you can also play with the contrast a little bit. Not contrast, the gamma. Yeah, because I'd like to Like, I keep saying desaturate, but that's not what I'm doing. Although I wouldn't mind doing that a little bit. But this is good enough for this purpose. I'm just showing you how to track. I'm not showing you how to do a finished composite. The only other thing I'd want to do is soften this edge. In order to do that, I would add a blur. And I notice I put it after the plane track deform. Let me show you why. Here's what I want to show you. In front of this, if I blur the crap out of this, see? The graphic is blurred, but this edge is still really clean. But if I put the same thing, I'm going to take it, put it afterwards, then it blurs the entire thing. See? And not just the graphic. Obviously, that's ridiculous. I'd use it something like, say, 3. And yeah, I think I'll go with that. And that's about it. Now there's more. You could weather it, you could do things, but there's the idea. The only other thing I want to mention is this is 1080p footage, but I don't want to put out a 1080p clip percent. This is set to 1920 by 1080, 50%. So that's what I want this to be. Now, when you're rendering from the 3D and you put out whatever size you want, it comes out at that size. It proportions everything. But when you're doing it from the compositor, if this is set smaller than the clip you're using, it's going to come out cropped. In other words, it's going to render it at half the size, but it won't shrink the image down. It'll just show you the part that fits in a piece that small. So the way you get around that, or deal with it, is put in a transform node, and then set this to make this footage the size you have that set for. So that's set to 50%, so I'm going to go in here and scale this to 50%. If you wanted to make this kind of reduction for your final footage, you're better off rendering it out full size. The only reason I rendered it out small was to save time. You're better off rendering it out full size and then using the video editor or some other thing to re-encode it smaller. Anyway, that's it. If you have any problems with getting this to work or whatever, leave comments. I will read them. I will respond to them. And that's it. Good luck.